Welcome to the Language Alchemy podcast, where you transform your communication to create the life and relationships you truly want. I'm your host, Alejandra Siroka, and I help multicultural individuals, couples, and change makers move beyond surface level politeness and conflict avoidance to have authentic, value-based interactions that actually resolve issues and deepen connection. If you are tired of rehashing conversations in your head, walking on eggshells, or feeling misunderstood in your most important relationships, this podcast will give you a new way forward. And if you'd like to have some support with your communication, go to languagealchemy.com and check out one of our transformative communication programs. You're at the dinner table with your partner and they're on their phone again. Instead of saying, "I'd really like us to have phone-free dinner so we can connect," you say something like, "You are so popular. Must be nice to have so many important people needing your attention." Your tone is light, almost joking, but your partner looks up, a little confused and a little hurt. "What's that supposed to mean?" they ask. "Oh, nothing," you say, "just making an observation." But it wasn't nothing, was it? It wasn't an observation either. You were hurt. You wanted their attention. You wanted to feel that you matter. You wanted to connect during dinner. But instead of saying that directly, you wrapped your pain in sarcasm and served it with a side of guilt. In the example I just gave you, you communicated with passive aggression. And if you've been listening to the Language Alchemy podcast's last 2 episodes, you may remember that we started a mini podcast series on the topic of passive aggression. If you're new to the podcast, or if you took a break and now you're back, know that from time to time, I record mini series on specific communication topics that are complex. Right now, you have a choice. You can listen to episodes 182 and 183 first and then listen to this one. Or you can start here and then listen to the previous 2. You choose your own Language Alchemy adventure. But before you decide, let me tell you what today's episode is about. Today, we are going to explore what you need to learn to transform passive-aggressive communication patterns into direct, compassionate expression. And we'll also talk about why these skills matter, not just for your relationships, but for your own inner peace. Before we delve into how to transform passive-aggressive communication habits, let's talk about why this matters. If after listening to the example I gave you in the last 2 episodes and at the beginning of this one, you now recognize that you tend toward passive-aggressive communication, you might be thinking, is this really such a big deal, Alejandra? At least I'm not yelling, or I'm not being openly mean. True, you are not yelling, and you are not being openly mean. But passive-aggressive communication is mean. And communicating in a mean way through passive aggression is also exhausting, not just for the person around you, but for you as well. When you communicate indirectly, you carry a constant burden. You have to be in managing mode, which requires a lot of work. You are managing what you really feel, what you're actually saying, what you hope the other person will understand, and what you will do if they don't get the hint. It's like running multiple programs on your internal computer all at once. If you tend to feel drained in your relationships and you can't pinpoint why, a big reason may be the constant effort required by your passive-aggressive habit. And in fact, this is what a communication coaching client of mine discovered. Let's call him Jamal. Jamal came to me feeling perpetually misunderstood and frustrated. He said, "I'm exhausted, Alejandra. I'm tired of feeling disappointed." When I asked him about his disappointment, he said, "It feels like no one ever gets what I need. No one, I said. Not even one person? Then he said, my partner, my family, my friends, my coworkers. As we worked together, we discovered that Jamal had a pattern of hinting at what he wanted rather than asking directly. For example, when his birthday was coming up, he would say things to his partner like, I did a lot of research on this watch. I love it, but I don't know about getting it for myself. He would say things at work like, it would be great to create this feature for the client and present it to them during the next meeting. And with his family, he would say things like, Nellie makes the best cookies. In his mind, his communication was clear, but others didn't pick up on it. When his birthday came, he received a different gift from his partner instead of the watch he wanted, and Jamal felt hurt and resentful. At work, he was upset that someone in his team took the leadership in creating that special feature and was picked to present it to the client. And when he got together with his family for the holidays, his sister Nellie didn't bake any cookies. He thought, if they really knew me, they would have understood. But here's the truth. Going through elaborate methods to try to have people read our minds and then feeling hurt when they can't is not only exhausting, it is a form of self-abandonment. And it's setting ourselves up for great disappointment. In our work together, Jamal learned to say directly, I really love this watch. It's what I want for my birthday. And I would be so happy if you would consider getting it. Or, I have an idea with this client. If we agree it's worth trying it out, I want to take the lead on this project and present it to the client in the meeting. He learned to say to his sister Nellie, your cookies are part of my favorite thing about spending holidays together. Can you bake those ginger cookies that are so delicious? When he was able to communicate directly, everything transformed in his life, not just in his relationships with others, but also in his relationship with himself. He stopped abandoning his own needs and hoping someone else would rescue him from having to express them directly. He felt more loved and seen, and he experienced more energy. When he transformed his communication, he transformed his life. So now let's talk about 4 skills you need to learn to transform your passive-aggressive communication pattern. Number 1, learn to identify, name, and express your feelings, desires, and needs. Passive-aggressive communication often stems from not having clarity about your actually feeling, wanting, or needing. And so when you communicate, it's not clear. In order to transform this, to learn this skill, you can ask yourself, what do I feel? What do I want or need here? And if you're afraid of saying it out loud, write it down on a piece of paper. And when you communicate it to the other person, have that piece of paper with you. I've done this in the past and said something like, I wrote it down because it's so important and I want to make sure I'm clear. So I'm going to read this out loud to you. If I did it, you can do it too. The second skill is to learn to set healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries are part of any healthy relationship. And passive aggression often shows up when we're not setting clear boundaries. Instead of saying no, or I'm not comfortable with that, we say yes. And then we express our resistance indirectly. And you know what? No's are as important as yeses in our relationships. I'm going to say it again. No's are as important as yeses in our relationships. Now, boundaries is a whole other big topic that requires a podcast mini-series, don't you think? So for now, practice this. Notice when you feel resentful about something you've agreed to. That resentment is information. It's telling you that you crossed one of your own boundaries. Yes, not the other person. You crossed them. Okay, that's really good and important information. So after you do that, after you notice that, take your note app or your journal and write down what boundary you crossed. And then think about this. If you could go back in time, what would you have said instead of agreeing right away? Maybe you could have said something like, let me think about it and get back to you. Or maybe you could have said something else to set the boundary. Whatever it is, write it down. This is a great way to start learning how to set boundaries skillfully. And speaking of skills, let's go to skill number 3. Learn to express disappointment or hurt without attacking. This might be the hardest skill of all. I get it. When someone hurts or disappoints us, our instinct is often to protect ourselves. And that's not a problem. The problem is how we do it, by either withdrawing, for example, by giving the silent treatment, by shutting down and saying nothing, or by attacking indirectly through sarcasm, digs, or guilt tripping. But here's another option, and that is to learn to express hurt and disappointment directly and vulnerably. This sounds like when you canceled our plans at the last minute, I felt hurt and unimportant. Or I felt disappointed when you didn't acknowledge my work on this project. If you go back to listen to these 2 examples I just gave you, all you're doing is talking about your experience without blame. Then pause and allow the other person to respond. In skill number 4, learn to trust that you are worthy of direct communication. This is the deepest part of the work. Learning to believe that you are worthy of expressing yourself directly, that your feelings matter, that your needs are legitimate, that you don't have to manipulate, control, or manage situations or people into caring about you. Passive aggression often comes from a deep belief that we are not worthy of direct communication, that if we are too direct, too clear, or too much ourselves, people will reject us. And to learn this, it's best if you have some support with someone skilled who can help you transform this communication with yourself. And this is what I do with my clients. This is the deepest work because when you transform your communication with yourself, you transform your life. So if you notice you need some support, reach out to me and let's talk about how to transform your communication so that you can transform your life, and more specifically, so that you know, feel, and experience without a doubt that you are worthy, that your feelings are valid, that your needs are legitimate, and that the most loving thing you can do for yourself and others is not to be a managed or an indirect version of you, but the authentic you. I really can't say it enough times. Learning these skills isn't just about communicating well. It's about transforming your relationship with yourself and others. When you move away from passive-aggressive patterns to direct, compassionate communication, you are engaging in all 3 aspects of language alchemy. As an awareness practice, you are becoming conscious of your patterns, your feelings, your needs, and the gap between what you're saying and what you're meaning. As a conscious communication practice, you are learning to express yourself in alignment with your values. Values like honesty, self-worth, courage, and authenticity. And as a form of evolutionary activism, you are dismantling patterns that may have been in your family for generations. And then you are modeling for others, especially children, that it is safe and valuable to express yourself directly. You are contributing to a culture of authenticity rather than one of hidden agendas and manipulation. Every time you choose direct communication over passive aggression, you are choosing to co-create and maintain thriving relationships and contributing to a more conscious world. If you'd like to start transforming this pattern today, let me give you a practical tool you can use right away. It is a compassionate self-reflection practice. I myself do keep a communication journal, and I ask all my clients to keep one. So dedicate a journal or a notebook. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. And what are you going to journal about? At the end of each day, take 5 minutes. Yes, just 5 minutes. And as fast as you can, write the answers to these 4 questions. Number 1, when did I communicate directly today? Number 2, when did I communicate using my passive-aggressive pattern? Number 3, what was I afraid would happen if I was direct? And number 4, if I could go back in time, what could I have said instead? Approach this reflection with compassion, not with judgment. You are learning a new language, and that takes practice. These questions are intentional and very powerful if you do take the 5 minutes to engage with them. The first question, when did I communicate directly today, will help you see that you are able to communicate directly. The second, when did I communicate using my passive-aggressive pattern, will help you bring awareness to your habitual tendency. The third one, what was I afraid would happen if I was direct? That question will put you in contact with your feelings, your wants, your values, and needs. And the fourth question, if I could go back in time, what could I have said instead, is directing your attention to your ability to communicate directly. And now, let's recap what you've heard in this episode. Today, we explored why transforming passive-aggressive communication matters, not just for others, but for your own well-being and inner peace. We discussed 4 essential skills you need to learn. Number 1, identify, name, and express your feelings, your desires, and your needs. Number 2, set healthy boundaries. Number 3, express disappointment or hurt without attacking. Number 4, trust that you are worthy of direct communication. We connected these skills to language alchemy as an awareness practice, a transformative communication approach, and a form of evolutionary activism. Then I gave you a daily 5-minute compassionate self-reflection practice to help you transform your passive-aggressive habit. Now, remember this. You didn't develop passive-aggressive patterns overnight, and you won't transform them overnight either. So be patient with yourself. Celebrate small accomplishments, and know that every moment of direct, authentic communication is an act of courage, generosity, and authenticity. As I said earlier, if you're noticing you need my support, reach out to me. If you're on my mailing list, you have my email. So just reply to one of those emails with the word support. And if you're not on the Language Alchemy mailing list, you can sign up by going to languagealchemy.com, and every Wednesday, you will get an email directly into your inbox with transformative communication tools you can put into practice right away. In our next podcast episode, the last one of this mini-series, we are going to explore the other side of this dynamic. How to communicate skillfully with someone who uses passive-aggressive communication. Because knowing how to respond to these patterns is just as important as transforming them in yourself. And if this episode spoke to you, I'd be so grateful if you would leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Your honest feedback helps other multicultural change makers and couples discover these tools for communicating with intentionality and bringing more peace into their lives, relationships, and our world. And please, share this episode with someone who's working on their communication patterns. We all need reminders that transformation is possible. Thank you so much for listening, and a special thanks to all the change makers in Asia listening to the Language Alchemy podcast. More specifically, I'd like to thank listeners in Singapore, Hong Kong, the Maldives, India, Japan, Indonesia, the Philippines, Israel, and Saudi Arabia. Until next episode, and as we say in Argentina, ciao ciao! Original music by Gary Lapo. You can find all links in the show notes at languagealchemy.com.